Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast. Our guest today is Joe Frodsham. Joe is the president of Career Management Partners. CMP is a talent and transition firm in the business of developing people and organizations across the full talent lifecycle, from executive search and leadership development to organizational development and career transition support. Joe is also the co-author of two seminal books on careers, Make It Work, and the most recent book, now in its second edition, Don't Dread Monday, Your Guide to Career Success. Joe authored this book with Marianne Pena, and Joe is also a speaker and recognized expert on careers, employee engagement, leadership development, organizational development, and talent systems. Joe, welcome to the Success Insight podcast.
Well, thank you, Howard. I'm glad to be here, and I really appreciate the invite.
Fantastic. And I have to say, having you as a guest today, we are still in the early stages of May. We are knee-deep in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and your work is on everybody's mind these days and the work that you do. And I really love to get into how you and CMP are helping organizations navigate our times. I also want to talk a little bit about the book, Don't Dread Monday. But before we do that, I wonder if you could share with our listeners a little bit about your background to create a little bit of context of who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Well, thank you, Howard. I appreciate it. I don't know that I have the most interesting background, but I'm originally from Canada, born and raised in Western Canada, Calgary, Alberta. Lived out there till I was 18 years old and went to play football at college in the United States. And that didn't work out, but I still got a degree. And in the process, met somebody, got married, and never looked back. And so I've been in the United States for much more than half of my life. And in fact, live in Texas now collectively for almost 20 years. So I think I'm the only person in the world that says, how y'all doing, eh? I kind of bring them both together there from a Texas and Canadian standpoint. I got a bachelor's and master's degree at Brigham Young University. Master's degree is in what I would call my life's work, which really is helping individuals in the context of an organization and really applying more thoughtful, empirical techniques to driving effectiveness at the individual level and effectiveness at the organizational level. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I am here in the Dallas area, but we have offices in cities throughout the United States and partner offices throughout the world. And so we really deliver seamlessly wherever the client is.
Fantastic. And I was reading in the newspaper today. Well, I take that back. It was not the newspaper. It was an article online somewhere. That's where I get my news. And like all good former graduate students who believes in the scholar practitioner model, I was looking at the data, making sure the data was from reliable sources. And one of those pieces of data I saw today was just our unemployment rate. And also, lo and behold, the economy is not doing so bad, at least from a Wall Street perspective. I don't quite get that, but it's not going to be the topic of this conversation. But what is an organization like CMP doing today to help its clients navigate really this pandemic, this crisis that I don't see it going away anytime soon?
You're right. It's interesting. The Wall Street and the trading world does very well, but the jobs world is doing terribly right now. And I think the job insecurity that, if not much, if not most of America's feeling right now is very real. It's very tangible. And we're seeing it every hour of every day within our business. When we look at our own data, we're kind of a harbinger when it comes to talent and what's going on in the industry. Because as you already shared in the introduction, we have three practice areas. You do search, we do development, and then we do outplacement and transition. So when companies are ready to lay folks off, we get early warnings, right? They come and they talk to us about confidentially what's in the plan, what the numbers are, when, and then we help plan and support people in their transition to next. And our search and development business is way down in the last 2 months, and our outplacement business is way up. No surprise there. What we find is that there's a lot of desperation, a lot of leaders we're working with that are very uncertain and have no prior experience to draw upon on how to navigate and deal with the crisis. So what we're doing, and what, I'd love to spend some time talking to folks who find themselves in that boat, right? Where their job is endangered, their job is furloughed, or they don't have a job right now because you're in plenty of company right now. We can certainly talk about that later. But what we have done and our finding is in the midst of all this job loss and job insecurity, there are industries and companies that are hiring. 42%, we just completed a survey of a number of 100 or so companies, and we found that 42% of them are still hiring right now. Right now, there are different roles than they did before, et cetera. And there's some industries that are going gangbusters. Surgical devices, delivery services, certainly grocery stores, anyone in the food industry. We are helping people really reframe their competencies, reframe their search, be very open to alternative forms of employment. We find the majority of folks in the last 2 months that we've helped really find their employment are not going to full-time roles. They're going to contract assignments, consulting assignments, fractional roles, which can turn into full-time, but certainly for some, they're going to be transition roles, and that's okay too. So, long way to answer your question, Howard. We are having to adapt and get very aggressive in helping people think through, campaign, and position themselves in a way that the market can see them as relevant and in a way that really is meeting the market where it's at right now, which is in a very different place than it was 2 months ago.
And, really some great information that you've just shared. And I'm curious, for the individuals who have found themselves on for the sake of a better word, the downside of this crisis, how are they taking it in terms of there's a certain level of grief when it comes to and fear when it comes to the job, loss of a job, loss of being able to take care of yourself and your loved ones, pay your mortgage. And how are you and your staff in the organization, how do you help those individuals appreciate the grief, acknowledge it, but also to give them some kind of hope? There are some opportunities out here. And as you just said, there are industries and companies that are hiring in the 40% range. So there is, for the sake of a better word, possibility for them. What are the types of conversations or programs that you have in the CMP toolbox to help that type of conversation, that there is that kind of hope?
Yeah, no, great question. There is a very, very real emotional set of stages that people go through when they're let go of a job. As you know, career and job or work is so core to our identity. I mean, when you're at a party or any event, you say, "Who are you?" They're going to fill it in with their job. I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a mid-level manager, whatever it is for them, that's what they're going to tell you, right? So when your identity takes a massive hit, and in our own assessment work, we know quite predictably when people are in transition without them telling us. When we run them through assessments, we see a very consistent profile around lack of self-efficacy, a hit to the self-esteem, questioning oneself, etc. So all of the emotional transition that people go through is very real. It is very similar to a divorce for many people. So to answer your question, as a firm, we've been around 20 years helping people do the transition thing successfully. We have a whole career victory path, and it starts with where they're at emotionally. And don't try to convince them otherwise. Our coaches will really talk through where you're at emotionally, and they might be ready to move forward, but they might not be. And we tell them to take a pause if they're not. The last thing you want to do is interview with people. If you're mad, you're upset, you're angry, you're hurt really badly, that'll come out in the interview. So we meet them where they're at, and we have some resources to really help them reframe and look forward. But until they're able to do that, they've got to work on that. They got to get their head straight, so to speak. And it's very normal to need a few days to do that at the very least. And then we do, there are the euphemistic things. You'll find your next one, et cetera, which is very real, but we give them a very tactical path. And what we found is before you have that next job or whatever that next is for you, you need to have some early victories. What are some tangible, specific things you can do today, tomorrow, next week? And we have a whole roadmap that we give them. Let's look at your resume. Let's take a few hours and do some career assessments. Let's identify this as an opportunity to really align your needs with your career aspirations, with your job search and your campaign. Let's now get the resume where it needs to be. Or maybe there's two versions of the resume for different types of roles. So we give them very tactical check mark things to do. And when they meet those milestones, and just even working on those milestones gets them in a productive mind frame, right? Then we give them real advice and support as far as who's hiring, Who do we know? Who in the market, and what have we seen work? And we have literally 10 things that all are levers that are productive levers to surface their next. Things like, make sure your LinkedIn profile has the right picture, has the right language, that you're joining the right groups where the recruiters are going to go find you for the roles that you want. I mean, there's very specific things we have them do and coach them to do and do very well. And it is a bit of formulaic. I mean, if you pull all the levers and you're open to coaching, you will land. How quickly and the exact role, we can't guarantee, but if you pull all the levers, etc., we're very confident that you can be confident that you'll find your next. So it's meeting where they're at emotionally and giving them a very tactical, meaningful set of milestones and activities that will take them on the path to success.
I love the laying out the playbook, so to speak. And, I'm reminded, in the job loss frame of mind, there's that ending, and it's for some, there's a long glide slope, or that ending is going to take place. In this crisis that we're in, it's going to be a very abrupt ending, and this need, I believe, to go out and get the next job as fast as you can. In some cases, that's not a prudent course of action, but coming to grips with the grief. And just to, take some time to do that neutral zone, so to speak, to kind of explore and do those assessments, do that discovery of who you are. And, does this crisis present an opportunity? So I love the fact that, organizations like yours, and obviously 20 some years, this is not your first rodeo. You've lived through quite a few of these so-called rodeos, for the sake of a facetious word, back in 2008 and, year 2000. I mean, those things just happen. And anything new about or insight about this particular crisis versus like the 2008 or the year 2000? Is there something unique about this that for our listeners that you would want to share with them?
Two things. One is it's the speed in which it happened is unparalleled and unprecedented. So the other one certainly had a shock to the system, but this has been a massive shock that happened so quickly. When I do talk to daily people who are in job transition and who are, that we're working with as a firm and one of our consultants in our technology, et cetera, in some ways they feel like they're in good company because, what's tough is in good times when you're laid off, you feel a sense of shame. And you don't want people to feel that way because they got to tap into their network and solicit support. And you try to get them through that. But people aren't feeling shame. I mean, that's the good news, right? People who are impacted are like, this is, I'm me and half the people I know are being impacted. So the good thing is they're not feeling the shame. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. The other thing, though, is finding a job now is very different than it was in 2008. It really is. Now, there's so much artificial intelligence, AI being used on the recruiting end. It's unbelievable. And how you manage and work through in a thoughtful, smart way, applicant tracking systems, the AI pieces, etc. A new piece of the puzzle that we really didn't have like we do now back in 2008. So things like, is your resume in Times New Roman font or Arial? Should not matter at all. But it does, unfortunately. So there's a lot of the SEO, search engine optimized elements of a resume that are increasingly important when you're in a job search than they were in 2008. Good chance you're not going to have a human set of eyes look at your resume, especially submitted through a job board, LinkedIn, or anywhere else. Those kind of optimizing your resume, not just for look and feel, but for search engine optimization, along with cover letters, are some of the things that are new and that, we need to help people think through and stay contemporary in.
Okay. And does an organization like CMP, are you working with an individual that's coming in off the street, or is it the company, the nonprofit, the for-profit, the corporation, the family-owned business? Is it that, or is it also individuals? And then before you answer that question, if someone doesn't have the availability of the service that a CMP would provide, what piece of advice would you give to somebody that, we don't want them to be home alone trying to navigate this crisis, especially now that they've lost, their source of income. It's the worst thing I think you could be is home alone. What would that advice be as well?
Great question. Couple of things. One, to answer your initial question, our website in our firm, Career MP or CMP or Career Management Partners, and the website is careermp.com. That is for companies, right? So companies pay us to help their folks in transition. And I know we do it very well. And, Fujitsu, for instance, Fujitsu was our first client 20 years ago, and they're still our client for outplacement work. Our other website, don'tdreadmonday.com, is for retail clients. So it's those individuals who are looking for and need that kind of support. Sitting at home and trying to figure it out and navigate that career transition by yourself is difficult. It really is. And you need a network, you need a support system. If you have the means to pay for a program, and they're not that expensive, although easy for me to say, but we try to make them affordable. Go to Don't Dread Monday. You can look at the options. But if you can't afford it, there's some things you can absolutely do. First of all, go to Don't Dread Monday and fill out a form. We have a COVID relief program where we are offering free access to our online career portal for 6 months for up to 1,000 people. I think we have 600 takers so far. And so we have 400 more slots and no ties, nothing expected. 6 months access, and that does have free training. It has resume builder. It has 18 webinars on every topic of career transition. It helps you evaluate your resume empirically for SEO fit. It has a number of contemporary tools, deep research with LexisNexis database. You can reach out to over 1,000 recruiters with your resume. And so it's free and no questions asked. Go out there. You'll see the button and click on it, and until we still have 400 more slots. So if someone's listening to this and they could use that portal, go fill it, go take it, and go do it. And we're glad you can use it. If you think you need additional support to that, again, we have career coaches and a variety of other things we can do from our high touch standpoint to help you through this. Now, beyond that, some specific things they can do. One is I'd ask you to, and this is a bit of a real quick kind of roadmap for folks who are in job transition and doing it on their own. One is figure out your financial timeline. Look at your budget and say, how long can we go without money coming in? Is that 2 months, 4 months, 6 months? A lot of people haven't done that basic homework. And if you do need to take money out of your 401k or whatever, we do have some resources you can talk to for free to ask about what are the financial implications of that. Second, I would say go online and find out the industries and companies locally and otherwise that are hiring and focus on those. Like a lot of our clients are out of oil and gas. Oil and gas is not hiring right now. So we're having to really coach them to look at their function and competencies, but not frame it in context of oil and gas if they need a job right now. So go look at the industries and companies that are hiring and focus on them. Third, make sure that you're using LinkedIn aggressively. So your LinkedIn profile ought to be a great snapshot of you. Your picture, it should be updated, have someone look at it, make sure it's results-oriented, not just activity, but results-oriented language. And what I would also encourage them to do is join the groups in the areas that you want to find a job. So if you're an IT professional, join those IT organizations. If you're an operations lead, a director of operations, go join the operations organizations, because that's where recruiters are going to go in and mine and look for talent and fill roles. You want to make yourself really available and easy to find for recruiters inside or outside organizations. So LinkedIn, join the relevant groups and participate in those and have a great LinkedIn profile. And then I would do go to job boards. We actually do data, and we find that 41% of people who we've worked with found full-time jobs through job boards last year. So it's still a very viable way to go. It shouldn't be the only thing you do, but make sure your resume is search engine optimized so that it has repeated phrases and that the job that you're looking for or you're applying for is mentioned in your resume multiple times, especially in the top 1/3. And if you use our portal, the portal will give you some more data on your resume and how to make it search engine optimized. And then finally, I would say is make sure you practice your interviewing and your pitch. That first 30 seconds when you get a call, you've got to be convincing. It's not just what you say, but how you say it, on who you are, what you bring, and don't bore them to death. Make it sure you have a really crisp elevator pitch in that you focus on your key competencies and results, and that you're ready for the interview, that you practice for those interviews, which are largely over Zoom nowadays, And the Zoom interviews are a little different. Make sure you're leaning forward, looking straight at the camera, and that your background is managed and that there's no noise or distractions. So I'll stop there. Those are some, I think, very tactical things that I would encourage folks to do.
That's wonderful feedback and advice. And, you brought up the website, Don't Dread Monday. Let's talk a little bit about the book itself, because, that is going to be a great resource, perhaps to kick off this new journey that individuals who have been affected by this crisis are now going to be on. Tell us about the book. Now, it's in its second edition. So you and Marianne Pina, you wrote the book. What's in it? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Marianne and I own and run CMP, and so we've been colleagues in every way. We're also married, so just in full transparency.
In the full transparency, okay.
Yeah, which I'm very happy about. But we are a minority women-owned business that supports the full talent life cycle nationally, and we take diversity very, very seriously. And so this is a book that really helps bridge the gap, and I think it's done so for a lot of folks so far, between theory and practice, right? So Make It Work, $14.95. It's a pretty small investment, but it helps you really think through, who do I want to be and what do I want to be? And so we have a simple process for helping people who read and work through the exercise identify their career needs. What are their unique career needs? Every person has them, but they're different for every person. For me, it's freedom and the ability to create things. Right? Other people have different needs. And we walk through a very simple process to identifying your career needs and then putting together a very executable, thoughtful plan to declare it and make that work in the job market or in the market in the world of work. And it's mostly book, but a kind of portion workbook. We have you stop and do exercises that build on each other. So anytime people get the book, I really encourage them to do the work. Don't just read it as a fun read. I mean, you'll get something out of it. But if you do the work, stop and do the exercises and build on each other, what you will come out of there with at the end of the day is deeper insight and clarity and confidence that you know what you need in your career and how to go get it done starting the next day, the next morning. So that's what we try to deliver. We made a few revisions from the first version just based on feedback, and we're constantly learning. It's fundamentally the same, but a few more examples and a few more tweaks to the exercises. So I can't be prouder of the ROI that people get out of a less than $15 investment. And that when people have applied the principles and done the work, literally we've received over 1,000 emails just in the last year and a half with people who say it's really helped change their career and in some cases their life. So, I probably shouldn't push the book because they say, well, I'll buy the book and I get the coaching, but that's okay. I believe in karma, right? And that you throw that out there and good things come back. So we're immensely proud of it. And that's kind of what it does for you.
Fantastic. And I'm really in the, spirit of disclosure as well as a coach, and you're a coach as well. The book is, in some ways, it's a snapshot, it's a guide, but it really doesn't replace the importance of that one-on-one or one-to-many interaction. Maybe it's a group, group career coaching as well as individual coaching. So, one thing I just have learned since embarking on my coaching journey is that this idea that we, especially in this kind of environment, we cannot do it by ourselves. And so I love the fact you've got the book, Don't Dread Monday, but I would also caution, for our listeners is that, sure, invest in the book. And as Joe said, it's a very reasonable investment, but don't feel that this is all you have to do. You want to go out there, have conversations. And as it said, go into LinkedIn, join the groups that are pertinent to your area of expertise, your career goal, so to speak.
Absolutely, Howard. I couldn't agree with you more. To actually be able to process and discuss it with an expert like yourself is immeasurably helpful. And even in the book, we encourage people to stop, check in with someone they trust and value their input, the work, and before they move forward. So the services you provide are absolutely worth the investment.
Thank you. And, a question that I love to ask our guests, and especially ones that have embarked on the authoring of a book. And I mean, again, this is You've been doing this for quite a while, 20 some years. You've got a couple books to your credit now, the second edition of Don't Dread Monday. What have you learned about yourself as a professional in this industry, career management, organizational change, development, leadership, or for organizations, leaders, employee engagement? What have you learned about yourself?
Wow, that's a really good question. I wish you would have warned me, Howard. I'd have to.
That's my guy. I usually tell guests I don't have gotcha questions, but I always try to put that one in.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, it's going to sound so trite. It really is. What I learned is that I have to bring my heart into everything. People, it's not what you say, it's what people feel. And I think we've got a tremendous amount of information, and we've been very fortunate to do well as a firm and as a book. But I don't think it's because of the information or, the technical services we provide. I'm immensely proud of our coaches and our technology. I truly am. But what they feel behind it is people who really do look at this as a mission and are doing this for reasons way beyond financial. I mean, clearly I like making money, and it is how we continue doing what we're doing. But over time, what I've learned is I am most happiest, not by how much money we're making, but the impact we're having. I truly am. I do believe in karma. I do believe that what you throw out comes back at you and to you. And more so in this space, as far as helping people through difficult times in their career, or figure out and develop as a coach inside a company, or even hiring and trying to fit their career aspirations, what they're ready for with opportunities inside companies. It's immensely joyful when you really are in it for them and you're on a mission to help your clients and your candidates. And that's your number one filter. That I didn't know that 20 years ago, Howard. I was told that, but I've come to realize that that's where your satisfaction comes from, is when you truly can make an impact on people and they feel it and know beyond what you say. They know you're in their corner, they can trust you, and that ultimately they will be successful working with you. That is the heart behind it, the intentions behind it need to be pure and right. And that's an honest answer.
Fantastic. Well, I truly appreciate that. And I know our listeners will appreciate that as well. And, I think that is probably a very good segue to ask you, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, where are the best places for them to go?
There's two websites. One where we have don'tdreadmonday.com. And that is where if you're an individual that looking for help, support, free portal access, or a book, or some coaching support on top of that, it has all of that there, free and otherwise, to help you in your career journey. If you're in a company that's looking for services for outplacement, for assessment, for coaching, or even for search work, go to careermp.com, CAREERM as in Mary, P as in Paul.com. So you can, go to the one that works for you or both. Feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is on both of those websites. And our office, or me specifically, depending upon the nature of the request, we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
That's fantastic. And of course, we will provide links back to the don'tdreadmonday.com website, Career MP as well. Your LinkedIn profile, that's another important place for folks to begin that journey, with you and in their journey, and also with Career MP. And also we'll provide the links back to the Don't Dread Monday, your guide to a lifetime of career success page on Amazon and other associated bookshops. So, Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure to learn more about you and your work, and just to kind of share, your insights and really your kind of your own playbook and advice that you give to folks who are really struggling today and perhaps need a little bit of guidance and, how to navigate this crisis. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us on the Success Insight podcast.
Oh, and Howard, thank you for taking the time to move me through this process. It's been great. And thank you for what you do in the same space. Much appreciated.
Fantastic. All right, folks, we have just been chatting with Joe Frodsham on the Success Insight podcast. He is the president of Career Management Partners. CMP is a talent and transition firm in the business of developing people and organizations across the full talent lifecycle. And Joe also shared about Don't Dread Monday. That's their book available on Amazon. So Don't Dread Monday, your guide to a lifetime of career success. And also the invitation to go out to the don'tdreadmonday.com website. If you need some help, or you know somebody that needs some help, there are approximately 400 slots available for 6 months of career support, search support on the website. So do take advantage of that, okay? You don't get this kind of opportunity every day. And in this current crisis that we are in, people need help. And I mean, this kind of advice is great for whether it's your family, your neighbor, other loved ones. Do invite them to take advantage of it by having them go out to don'tdreadmonday.com. And again, of course, we'll provide all the backlinks to the websites, LinkedIn, the book page on our show notes. All right, folks, it is Friday, and we are getting ready to launch into hopefully a little warmer weekend. It is cold here in Chicago, and it's May 8th on a Friday, and I need some 70-degree weather, so hopefully we'll get something. But hey, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, be safe, practice your social distancing, take care of yourself, take care of your family, get on Zoom, get on a phone call, but talk to people, have conversations, listen to understand. You don't necessarily have to solve the problem during the conversation. This is a time when, our resilience is being taxed. And sometimes the difference is just a friendly voice on the other end, whether it's the phone or the internet. So again, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day and weekend, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.